Welcome back, and in this video we're going to continue our discussion of creating reference sets. The previous videos demonstrated how to do that at the command line on your test QRadar box and also using the web console. In this video we're going to show you how to achieve the same thing using the REST APIs. Specifically we're going to show you how to create and add some data and list them out using the REST APIs with examples in Python and PowerShell. Before we dive into that though, I'd like to show you that you have complete documentation on these methods. If you are in QRadar, if you go over to Help, click Interactive API for Developers, you're presented with the documentation. Let's click 8.0, and these examples are all around reference sets. So we have various methods at our disposal here. Just to show you quickly, if I just do a simple get, hit try it out, what happens here is this is the URL that's called, and it returns in a JSON format all the reference sets that are currently in our QRadar system. As you can see here, we have a name, the type of data, the current number of elements, the time created, and the timeout type. If we want to create one, I'll go ahead and show that now. Click Post. And I have to tell the API what type of data. We'll do IP, and we'll give it a name. We'll say demo IP. Click try it out. Oh, interesting. I already have one that exists with that name, thus the error code 409, and it tells us here as well. We can quickly fix this. We'll call the delete, pass in the name, try it out. I should get a 200, yep, 202. Excellent. So let's go back and repeat our initial steps. Okay, so I'm going to create a reference set. I'm just going to do what we did earlier, type of IP, and the name. Try it out, and there we have it. We have created a reference set in QRadar using the REST API. So what we'll do next is show you how to do this in code. So what I've done is I've basically documented all the PowerShell and Python code, the scripts here on GitHub. If you go to github.com/$/QRadar, you'll see I have all these organized and documented here. So specifically for this video, we're going to be looking at creating reference sets, and here's the code. Here's a Python example. And here is the PowerShell example. So it looks like a lot of code, but really it isn't. Let's pull it into an editor and actually walk through it. So in this case, I'm using Visual Studio Code, which I highly recommend. And let's not get too hung up on the actual code. What I have here, config parser, is just a way for me to use an INI file, as we don't really want to put the key and the IP in the code and then put it out on GitHub. So it gives me a way to somewhat hide that data. And this little bit of code here is how I grab those values. Then I start using those values. So I actually embed the IP in this URL, and down here in the header I embed the key. That way I don't have to paste that data right into the code. And really, here's where the magic happens. I am formatting some parameters, and these should ring a bell. Element type of IP and the name of demo IP. Let's go ahead and run this code and see what happens. I'm going to hit F5. Oh, I have some breakpoints here. So that's one of the beauties of Visual Studio Code's very robust debugging. Looks like I have another one. Let's get rid of those and continue on. Excellent. So I've created a reference set called demo IP of type IP. I don't have any elements in it yet, but the intent of this is to show you that we can create these with scripts. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PowerShell example. It's going to look somewhat similar. Here I'm invoking a module that will allow me to use an INI file. Here I'm just grabbing the data and I'm parsing it out so I can grab the IP and the key. I'm formatting some parameters. Again, very similar to the Python code. And here's an interesting one. I ran into an issue with PowerShell Core versus Windows PowerShell. This skip certificate check enables me to bypass the SSL issues. And as this is a test box, I think it's safe enough to get away with that. So here we call the invoke REST method, passing these parameters. Let's go ahead and run this code. Excellent. Again, I've created a reference set of type IP with no elements. And just to prove to you that these were created, let's go back into QRadar, into the web console, ReferenceSets, there we are. And we've created a couple, both start with demo, and there they are. I'm going to go ahead and delete them while I'm here. I could also delete them from calling a REST API, but actually, let's recreate this one because I'm going to show you how to add some data. I'm just going to hit F5. Successful. Let's look at creating. So all I'm doing here, this is almost identical code to the previous Python example, except in this case, oh, that's a list add. Here we go. Except in this case, I'm explicitly adding an IP address. And if you want, we can actually, just to show you how this works, let's go back over. If I come over here, and I'm going to add one value, so 10.10.10.10. So the thing to pay attention to here is I get a 200, which is success. Here's the REST API call, and as you can see, that's the reference set name, and the query string is the value and the value that I'm passing. Go back to the code. Oops. And you can see, again, here's that same URL. In here, in the parameter attribute is where I'm passing in an IP address. And then I'm using the post method of the request module to actually make the call, and then I'm just nicely printing out the JSON results. Let's go ahead and run this. Excellent. So we were successful in that we added another element. You can tell it's listed here. If we go back over, we can do this a couple different ways actually. We can look at it here. Two elements. And there they are. And we can actually look at it using the REST API as well. And there's the two IP addresses. But yet a third way is we can use the REST API, and really this is just a simple get. The only thing we're really passing is the name of the reference set. If I run this, there they are. So at this point I've demonstrated primarily with Python how to create a reference set, how to add a single value, and then how to list it. It's important to note, and I think I've stated this in the other videos, that when it comes to reference data, reference sets are the only one that you can create in the actual QRadar web console. When you look at the other types of reference data, let me pull that up for you. When you look at maps and maps of sets and maps of maps and tables, it even tells you here that you have to use the REST API or command line. The only one you can use QRadar, the web console, is ReferenceSets. So the last thing we will demo here is how to add some bulk data. So you're typically not adding these things one by one. To do a bulk load, we can do it a couple different ways. In this example, this Python example, this is a dictionary that I've created that basically I convert to JSON and pass that into the post method for this URL. If I were to run that, it would add these two. But even then, that's not typically what we're doing, adding ones and twos. This is similar code for PowerShell. I'm 4 IP addresses here. I converted JSON, and then I pass that in as a parameter to the invoke REST method. What you typically are going to end up doing is you're going to have a file. In this case, I have a file with 100 IP addresses. So all I'm doing here, this up at the top, is similar to all the other PowerShell examples. I'm grabbing the data, I'm converting it to JSON, and then I'm passing that as a parameter. So when I do call my invoke REST method, everything is nicely formatted. Let's go ahead and run this. Excellent, 102. To verify that, let's verify it actually in using the REST method. Demo IP. Yep, this will work. So if I run this, excellent, it lists them all. Alright, so in this video we have demonstrated lots of different code examples here on how to use the REST API to create, to add in bulk, to list, into reference sets with PowerShell and Python. I hope this helped, and we'll talk to you soon.